Please be seated. Members of the class of 2024, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, families, and friends, good morning and welcome to the 169th commencement ceremony for the Washington and Lee School of Law. We're gathered to celebrate the achievements of our graduates and to share their excitement about the future that awaits them. This ceremony marks the beginning of a new chapter in the life of each graduate. Just as surely it marks the ending of another. You've spent 3 years together in this beautiful place. It has shaped you as individuals and as a class. Together you've studied, argued, and developed the habits of mind that characterize good lawyers. You've made lasting friendships that will give you pleasure and support wherever you go. And before you set out upon your different paths, I want you to savor your final moments together here this morning on this historic and beautiful campus that has been your shared home. Our law school, your law school, is the 16th oldest in the United States. Its origins reflect the long and lasting connections between the university and the community in which we live. Lexington Law School was founded in 1849 by Judge John Brockenbrough, a local lawyer. It operated out of a building on the corner of Nelson and Jefferson Street that now houses the Palms. It's a delicious irony. The law school was incorporated into Washington College in 1866. And for most of its long history, the law school was located right here on the colonnade, which was not only the heart of campus, it was the entire campus in the 19th century. Tucker Hall, just over your left shoulder, which is named for John Tucker, who served as the Attorney General of Virginia and a United States Congressman before serving as Dean of the Law School in 1893, was home to the law school from 1900 to 1976. And it contains a two-story library in which Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell, several American Bar Association presidents, and many other distinguished alumni received their legal education. Crossing the ravine to Lewis Hall in 1977, the law school was at the forefront of the university's expansion to what was then back campus. And as the undergraduates followed your lead across Woods Creek, the law school again became geographically central, reflecting its historical and contemporary significance to Washington and Lee. The tradition of excellence at Washington and Lee Law School stretches back more than 150 years, but it also aspires ever forward in keeping with our motto, non incautus futuri, not unmindful of the future. And you all are a part of this tradition. So I encourage you to take W&L, take the place and the people and the lessons that you have learned here, take them with you into the world, and you and the world will both be better for it. I congratulate you. And I now call upon Dean Melanie Wilson to continue the ceremony. Thank you.
Good morning and congratulations, class of 2024. Today is your day. I join with every member of the university and certainly every member of our law school community in celebrating you and your incredible achievements. Indeed, what a tremendous honor it is for me to stand here as your dean to share in the celebration of the class of 2024. Before I share a few thoughts, I want to say a few thank yous. Graduates, this is your day, but this 3-year law school journey is not one that you took alone. We should thank your parents, your grandparents, your spouses, partners, children, siblings, other relatives, and all of your beloved friends. For the past 3 years, these people have celebrated your wins and consoled you through disappointments. Without their support, moral, emotional, and as we know, sometimes financial, the 3-year journey through law school would have been significantly more difficult and more stressful. So graduates, whether they're here today in the audience celebrating with you or they're at a distance celebrating in spirit, please join me now in thanking your strongest supporters and your biggest fans. family, friends, have you wondered why in the last 3 years you have not won a single argument with these graduates? In large part, that's due to my talented faculty colleagues, many who are sitting in the front row down here. One of the things that's most special about us is our accomplished and dedicated faculty have taught these graduates to anticipate your thoughts and your arguments. They have taught them to check every side of every issue and to verify every fact. In essence, in 3 short years, they have taught these graduates to think like lawyers. And we're very, very fortunate at W&L Law to have an exceptional group of faculty who care deeply about the success, well-being, personal and professional development of every student. We also enjoy a dedicated staff who support our educational mission and foster and help protect our special community, one that is grounded in honor and integrity. And these faculty and these staff have shared their knowledge, their expertise, their time, and their passion with these graduates. So graduates, I'd ask that you join me in thanking the faculty, the administration, and the staff. I look out at you and I feel a tremendous warmth, joy, and optimism for each of you and for our future. This class personifies intellect, grit, compassion, and collaboration. You began your law school in uncertain times. Like all law students, you were challenged to understand how to read a legal opinion critically. You were asked to distinguish a tort from a contract. You were asked to understand the rule against perpetuities in your very first year of law school, even though almost none of us understands how that thing works except for maybe Professors Fraley, Fairfield, and Seaman. But in some ways, that was the least of your worries. You were navigating these time-honored law school challenges while transitioning out of the thick of COVID. So your 1L year was a mix of normal and completely unpredictable. But you persevered, and indeed, you thrived. I want to expressly acknowledge how well you managed that challenge, and I want to thank Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Michelle Drumble, at the time, Interim Dean Drumble, for shepherding you and the law school expertly through your 1L year. I have been thrilled and indeed honored to spend the past 2 years, your 2L and your 3L years, with you, watching you take advantage of everything that W&L Law offers. You've embraced all of it with great enthusiasm, grace, and polish. I'm reminded of the successful German Law Journal Symposium you hosted on sexual violence in the law last October, organized in large part by Madison Howell and Caitlin Hyun under the leadership of outstanding executive managing and lead editors for the journal, Maxwell Hanamarian, Annika Mann, Sarah Lee, and Cassandra Badorf. I'm grateful for the leadership of this year's Moot Court Upper Board, comprised of Katie Heller, Andrea Steidel, Elizabeth Underwood, and Carlene Karlovich. Side note, you may remember Elizabeth honed her advocacy skills during 2L year at a student-sponsored event where she took on and went toe-to-toe and debated both the speaker and one of the members of the audience. The Upper Moot Court Board and competition chairs oversaw so many wonderful student competitions. In that regard, I think about the outstanding advocates in this class, the class of 2024, who wrote exceptional appellate briefs and argued in the finals of the John W. Davis Moot Court competition during your 2L year. Tom Boss, Sydney Brunazuna, Katie Heller, and Andrew Willis. All of you made us very proud as you argued before actual judges and justices. And of course, we were impressed with Winnie Zhang and Ethan Brown, who won the Best Brief and Runner-Up honors. Another side note, no one can claim that Tom Boss spent all of his time on moot court arguments because we know that at least half of his time was downtown Lex teaching hip-hop when he wasn't in front of the community computers in the law library. In addition to our moot court experts, we have talented mock trial finalists in the class, including Caitlin Hyun, Hannah Walters, as well as our client counseling competition winners, Maddie Ballou and Julia Farbstein. I would happily be represented by Maddie or Julia. And side note, if you've never taken a yoga class from Julia, you've missed out on a transformational experience. The Women Law Students Organization hosted an outstanding symposium this academic year to bring awareness to legal issues affecting women in the workplace under the guidance of co-presidents Colleen Karlovich and Rachel Silver, with big help from Rising 3L Bregan Britt. I was grateful for the leadership of the Black Law Students Association, especially Dominique Cravens and Jasmine Cooper, who worked closely with Assistant Dean Frida Coleman-Jackson and Professor Maureen Edibor to host the annual Leslie Smith Lecture that this year brought Dr. Sadale Malaku to W&L Law to talk about her book, You Don't Look Like a Lawyer. I think about the Law Review and the Journal of Civil Rights and Social Justice Symposia, which attracted dozens of nationally and internationally known speakers. Law Review Editor-in-Chief Scott Coven and Symposium Editor Alexis Smith, along with help from Professors Seaman and Edibor, presenting a compelling program on voting rights in a politically polarized era. And Jenny Yang and Olivia Mayer did us proud with the Journal of Civil Rights and Social Justice Symposium on the intersection of media and law. I also thank our talented law news team, including Caitlin Hun, Taylor Quisenberry, Sydney Brunazuna, and Taylor Parsons, who wrote, edited, and published so many timely and interesting pieces about our law school community. One of the most enjoyable and entertaining events of the year, at least from my perspective, was the inaugural drag court moot competition. Maddie Ballou went above and beyond in drafting those creative fact patterns. Jared Hunter stole the show with that attitude. And who could overlook those gold pants that John Gilmore had on? The murder mystery evening was another favorite and super fun. So many of you participated and went all in on your costumes and your characters. And all I'll say on that is Andrea Stottle was too believable as the corrupt mayor. And Kyle Sutera really embraced that role as the paranoid magician. I mean, what is that? I was also thankful that all of you brought your enthusiasm to our second annual law school field day. I'm amazed how many French fries and s'mores you can eat. And you were also super good at mingle bingo. I guess that was showing off all your people skills. I'm confident that Rob Haas, Daniel Jacoby, Ian Joseph, and Colin Matei would have won many more than one relay events if they had not welcomed me to their team, which I was grateful for. I could not get that flimsy fly swatter to work for the life of me, and I was absolutely bent over laughing at Professor David Eggert's technique so that I couldn't gather my own self. But I sure appreciated your good-natured support. You know, when I think about this outstanding and close-knit class, I also think about your service to your classmates, and there was a lot of it. Many of you served as Kurgis Fellows: Maddie Ballou, Chloe Dupre, Julia Farbstein, Jalen Frontal, Ian Joseph, Catalina Perez-Para, Andrea Steidel, Artem Valinsky, Peter Wells, and Winnie Zhang. You so effectively mentored, guided, and encouraged the 1Ls. And special thank you goes to this year's head Kurgis Fellows, Cameron Perales and Taylor Roberson, who provided not only mentorship to the 1Ls, but also direction and leadership for the next generation of fellows. Think, too, about how many prospective and admitted students Lane David and Jalen Fatal have hosted and spoken with over the course of the last year as law admissions ambassadors. In fact, a huge thank you goes to all of our graduating law ambassadors, including Albert Chu, Daniel Jacoby, Elizabeth Pruitt, Elizabeth Underwood, Caitlin Hyun, Michaela Lee, who was the first student I ever met, in fact, even before I became dean, Morgan Brody, and Scott Coven. The Ratchford Fellows played a similar mentorship role in the Career Strategy Office with Jasmine Cooper Aiden O'Connor, and Hannah Wilk reading resumes and practicing interviews with their junior colleagues. I love that many of you gathered on weekends for Bread Day at Season Yield Farm, where you enjoyed homemade baked goods, warm coffee, and most of all, friendship. And that you hosted a number of community building events, like Balsa's Trivia Night at Heliotrope and the Halloween festivities at Professor Beth Belmont's. You also engaged in days of service to the community, including volunteering with Rah Rah Food Bank, collecting trash along our roadways, and collecting and donating personal hygiene items for people in great need. You hosted judges and dignitaries for discussions, including most recently Judge Chad Riedler of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and thanks to Amir Shleiman-Poor and Tali Maloney, retired Judge Michael Ludig, who gave the Lewis Power Lecture this semester. You also argued cases of your own before the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Haley Carter, you know I'm looking at you. And nothing could be more representative of this class, the class of 2024, than when Jordan Hicks, one of Haley's classmates, listened to the argument from Lexington and then wrote to me immediately to make sure that I knew what an amazing job Haley had done for her client and in representing the law school. Relatedly, in my mind, Winnie Zhang, Jared Hunnard, Chandler Marshall, along with 2023 law graduate Jack Keltner, joined forces to successfully represent a client from Afghanistan obtaining asylum status for the client. Think about all of this. Think about the positive impact the members of the class of 2024 are already making, and you haven't even been sworn as lawyers yet. I've provided only a small sample of how the members of this class have made our community stronger, more fun, and better. I could go on and on and on about your engagement, about your achievements. Every one of you has contributed positively to the W&L Law community, and for that, I'm deeply grateful. I have no doubt that you're going to take your talents, your legal knowledge, and your positivity out into the world and do the same for your new communities. As I reflect on the class of 2024, and I think about your futures, I'm both inspired and I'm encouraged. Your ability to triumph over challenges make me think of something that Kara Lawson is famous for saying. Lawson is the women's head coach, basketball coach at Duke University. And she would say that you are ready to handle hard better. By age 8, Kara Lawson was playing on the boys' youth football team in Alexandria, Virginia, where she grew up, and she later switched to women's basketball and soccer. She played college basketball for Pat Head Summit at the University of Tennessee, who's a coaching legend, before she played professional basketball for the WNBA. She has competed for the United States in the Olympics and coached an Olympic team in addition to coaching at Duke. She's famous for telling her young team at Duke, quote, "We all wait in life for things to get easier, but life will never get easier. What happens is you handle hard better." She has said, quote, "If you have a meaningful pursuit in life, it will never be easy. Make yourself someone who handles hard well, not someone who waits on the easy bus." Some of you have no doubt at some point thought, I just need to get through 1L year and life will get easier. I just need to finish writing my law review note and life will get easier. I just need to graduate and life will get easier. I just need to pass the bar and life will get easier. Coach Lawson would say, and I agree with us 100%, no, it won't. It doesn't. But there's good news, really good news. You are ready. You arrived at W&L Law with the smarts and with the aptitude. Now you have the skills and you have the education. You are ready to handle hard better. You are ready to overcome any adversity thrown at you. You're ready to represent clients when they're at their most vulnerable and they need you the most. Soak up today, soak up every day. Reflect with gratitude on every single opportunity and on every challenge and disappointment. Embrace all of it, even the hard. Along the way, dream big, challenge yourself, believe in yourself. Pursue the ambitious dreams that you came to law school to achieve. You're ready. You can handle it. You're fully prepared to handle hard better. The entire W&L Law community is so proud of you, and we wish you tremendous success and a fulfilling career. Congratulations. Now to the conferring of the degrees. Members of the law class of 2024, please rise. President Dudley, I have the great honor to recognize 141 candidates for the Juris Doctor degree. They have been examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Trustees. They are to be congratulated on their exceptional legal knowledge and preparation, and I ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them their law degrees.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and approval by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer the degree of Juris Doctor of Washington and Lee University. Please come forward to receive your diploma as your name is called by Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Michelle Drumble. I ask that the audience hold its applause until all graduates have received their diplomas.
Alexis Maria Acosta. Everett Garrett Allen IV. Cassandra L. Badorf. William Hike Baldwin. Wellington George Bauman. Madeline K. Ballou. Ella Ann Bishop. Tara Lorraine Blackwell. Max Ruben Blumenthal. Theodore S. Boone. Tom Boss. Morgan S. Brody. Ethan Charles Brown. Sydney Ann Brunazuna. Ryan M. Capone. Laura Elizabeth Carrier. Haley Lauren Carter. Joseph A. Champrone Barron III. Simon Gaetano Chicaro. David Michael Clark, Jr. Nicholas Isaiah Clark. Adam Thomas Klein. Teresa Elizabeth Calhoun. Christopher J. Cooper. Jasmine Nicole Cooper. Bernadette Mari Coyle. Dominique Claire Cravens. Michaela Jane Crow. Lane Elizabeth David. Michael Cole Davidson. Nicolette S. DeFrank in absentia. Maria V. Denisenko. Jacob Michael Dietz. Chloe Addison Dupre. Courtney Ebersol. Stephen O. Falco. Julia Ariadne Farbstein. Lucy Hunter Fisher. Alyssa Danielle Fitchett. Christopher A. Forrest in absentia. Haley Elizabeth Fortner. Jalen Spencer Frontal. Sophia Ann Friedfertig. Tyler W. Funk. Nina R. Gagnon. John F. Gilmore III. Rachel Michelle Graff. Bennett M. Gushu. Samuel Gary Gustafson. Robert Trevor Hamlin. Maxwell Mark Hanamarian. Aaron K. Hannapel. Maeve Murphy Harris. Robert C. Hawes. Catherine Marie Heller. Jennifer Corrine Helsley. Jordan Phillip Hicks. Madison Dupree Howell. Jared Zakiah Wins Hunter. Caitlin Heon. Daniel Joseph Jacoby. Jessica Jager. DeAndre N. Johnson. Ian Nathaniel Joseph. Joshua R. C. Justice. Colleen A. Karlovich. Christian Adams Kelling. Anna Lynn Kennedy. D. Scott Coven. Chelsea Burton Kowalchuk. Brandon E. Cuter. William Ross Langen. Unsor Lee. Michaela Deshay Lee. Meredith Hoyle Lerner. Jianhao Liu. Matthew J. Lloyd. Jose A. Lopez, Jr. Elizabeth Patricia Lopriato. Olivia Allison Luzio. Sarah Lynch. Carson Hillary Lyon. Annika Kaur Han. Madeline McDonald Testa. Olivia Mayer. John Maloney. Mary Tolliver Maloney. Salvatore Mancuso. Chandler Hope Marshall. Caroline G. Massey. Ryan Mastro. Colin Joseph Matei. Alexandra Camille Mache. Connor McCarthy. Myatt Wilson McClure. Barbara Ann Merriman. Willem C. Mills. Grace Oneida Moore. Andrew Christian Morales. Jenna Catherine Mueller. Gabriella Nordlund. Aiden T. O'Connor. Taylor Brooke Parsons. Cameron Marco Perales. Catalina Victoria Perez Parra. Elizabeth W. Pruitt. Taylor Kevin Quisenberry. Ross Charles Reggio. Taylor Nicole Robertson. Madeline Ella Robinson. Marielle Aime Rodriguez. Christian Sanchez Leon. Thania Rosa Schick Malone. Brandy Star Sepala Powers. Joe Wan Shin. Rachel Marie Silver. Alexis B. Smith. Amir A. Solomon-Poor. Andrea M. Steidel. David Arthur Stevens. Miller Bruce Sullivan. Kyle Sutera. Daniel J. Tyne in absentia. Jonathan William Earl Thomas. Robert McLean Thomas. Arthur W. Troy. Elizabeth Graves Underwood. Audrey Elizabeth Van Winkle. Virginia French Verdon. Bianca Volpicelli. Artem Valinsky. Jacob Edward Walmsley. Taryn E. Washburn. Ariana Page Webb. Peter Robinson Wells. Hannah Marie Wilk. Andrew James Willis. Elizabeth Grace Wilson. Burke E. Wynn. Jenny Yang. Winnie Zhang. Albert Zhu.
Please join me in congratulating the class of 2024. Woo! Woo! Now, to our commencement speaker, the Honorable Spencer Cox, the 18th Governor of the state of Utah and a 2001 graduate of Washington and Lee University School of Law. Governor Cox was elected governor in Utah in 2020 following a lengthy career in public service. He was born in Fairview, Utah attended Snow College and Utah State University before entering W&L Law in 1998. While on campus, he was a student in the Black Lung Clinic and a member of the Law Review. He graduated magna cum laude and was a member of the Order of the Coif. After graduating from W&L Law, Governor Cox clerked for U.S. District Court Judge Ted Stewart before joining the Salt Lake City law firm of Fabin and Clennanan. He left the law firm to return to his hometown of Fairview and to serve as vice president and general counsel of Centricom, a rural telecommunications company, and to work the family farm. Governor Cox served as a city council member, the mayor of Fairview, and as a Sanpete County commissioner before his election in 2012 to the Utah House of Representatives. In 2013, he was appointed by then Utah Governor Gary Herbert to the position of lieutenant governor. He became Utah's 18th governor on January 4, 2021, and in 2023, he was elected to lead the National Governors Association. I now invite Governor Spencer Cox to the podium.
Mr. President and Dean Wilson, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Graduates, congratulations. We are so excited for you. I speak on behalf of your family members and friends, many of whom never thought you would get to this moment. We're so proud of you. I know my family did not think I would get to this moment. Now, I'm honored to be here. I never thought I would have this opportunity. I remember the very first time my wife Abby and I stepped on campus back in the 1900s. I feel like a pioneer. Those years seem so far and long ago, but we had no intention of coming to Washington and Lee School of Law. We did not know that this place existed. I had applied to a few schools, and I got accepted to the schools I was hoping to get accepted to, and one I didn't expect to get accepted to. I'd been accepted to Brigham Young University and to Harvard. When I got a brochure in the mail, and there was a picture on the front of that brochure, and I'm staring at that picture right now, a picture of this beautiful colonnade behind us. There was a free application, and I had nothing to lose, and I thought, this looks beautiful. Maybe I'll just apply there and see what happens. We got accepted, but still had no intention of coming here. This was, again, in 1998. The internet was a new thing, and there was a website with some more pictures on it, so we studied a little bit. And my dad happened to be coming to Washington, D.C. I'd only been out here once before. And he said, why don't you guys come with me? We'll go down, we'll visit this campus and just see what's there. And so I remember pulling up in this parking lot right here. My wife and I stepped out. We walked here to this spot, and we both looked at each other, and we knew that this is where we were supposed to be. We didn't know why. So we sent rejection letters to a couple schools, and we came here. And it changed our lives forever and for the better. Now, I know what I'm supposed to do here as commencement speaker. I'm supposed to give you some advice. I'm supposed to do it in an entertaining way. I don't know, maybe quoting some lyrics from the Tortured Poets Department or something. I don't know. Maybe what I should do is help write a diss track for Drake, who's just getting pummeled right now by Lamar. Actually, so here's the thing. I have no idea what's happening between Drake and Lamar, but I wanted to feel young and cool again. So I Googled it, and I read an entire article by the AP explaining the beef between those two, and I still have no idea what's going on. So I'll let some of you explain it to me. But see, here's the thing. I'm also supposed to tell you that you're going to go out and change the world. And you might, but I'm not going to tell you that because I think it's bad advice. And so I'm going to share, I wasn't sure what I was going to share, but as I was walking along the trail, along the creek out here, something we did regularly when we were here 25 years ago, I realized what I wanted to share with you is something a little different than that. And so I don't remember well, that's not true. I do remember something about my commencement. I don't remember who the speaker was, but I remember that he talked for almost an hour. And my gift to you is that I will not speak that long, all right? So, but I'm going to tell a couple stories, and I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. As I was walking this morning, I was thinking about 3 books that I've read, and I want to share just briefly some pieces of those. As governor of Utah, I've tried to get my team to always be curious, and that's my first advice to you, is to remain curious. And one of the ways we remain curious is that we have a book club with my cabinet members and senior staff. The last book that we read is a book called The Least of Us by Sam Quinones. And in that book, Sam talks about the drug trade in America, and how so many of our fellow citizens became addicted to opioids and fentanyl, how the drugs came here, how drug companies got people addicted. But he talks about the brain science of addiction and how these dopamine hits connect to the sensors in our brain to make us feel pleasure, and how that pleasure is addicting. And it's not just about drugs. There are so many other things that do that too. We get addicted to gambling, addicted to sugar, we get addicted to outrage. All of these things hit the pleasure centers of our brain, but they're never enough. They're hollow calories. They're empty. They leave us longing for more, and so we increase whatever it is so we can keep that dopamine hit coming. Now, there is another chemical called serotonin, which connects to the same sensors, but leaves us fulfilled, leaves us not wanting more, but actually gives us happiness. And in this book, Sam actually talked to us, which is one of the cool things about being governor. When you do a book club, you get to contact the author, and they'll talk to you. So we had Sam talk to us. And in the book, he talks about the difference between pleasure and happiness. And I want to share this with you. He actually quotes someone else, Dr. Robert Lustig. But this is from the book. He says this: pleasure is fleeting. Happiness is long-lived. Pleasure comes from taking or getting. Happiness comes from giving. Pleasure is achieved alone. Happiness with others. Pleasure comes from substances or things. Happiness does not. Pleasure releases dopamine in our brains, the constant search for more. Happiness releases serotonin, producing feelings of contentment, an end to consumption, all of which means, Lustig said, that pleasure can prod our reward pathways into addiction. Happiness cannot. America, he says, has devolved from the aspirational, achievement-oriented city on a hill we once were into the addicted and depressed society that we've now become because we abdicated happiness for pleasure, because pleasure got cheap. That's the first thing I want to share with you. The second thing comes from a book written by a former U.S. Senator, someone who is now president of the University of Florida, Ben Sasse, in his book called Them, Why We Hate Each Other and How to Heal. And in Them, he talks about 3 groups of Americans into which we all can be categorized. Researchers demographers have labeled us into these 3 categories. The first category are the mobile. Today, you join that category, the mobile. The mobile are people who are very successful, people who have degrees, people who can go, travel anywhere, work anywhere. You right now, because of this degree, this piece of paper that you have received, now have doors open to you that aren't open to the rest of society. You can travel to any state, any country in the world. You can find a high-paying job and you will be very successful. Those are the mobile. The second group they talk about are the stuck. These are people who do not have the social capital that you have. They do not have degrees. They do not have high-paying jobs. They may move around, but they're stuck in their station in life. Most of them live in intergenerational poverty. They're in their communities. They're stuck there. Many of them are the people that Sam Quinones talked about who have become addicted to substances, and they're living a fairly miserable life. Okay? There is a third group, though. This group is called the rooted. The rooted are people who have the advantages of the mobile, but choose to stay and be part of a place. They become rooted in that place. They use their social capital not on themselves. They use their social capital to build up the communities around them. They, the rooted, help the stuck to find hope and better lives. The third book I want to share with you just briefly comes from an author named David Brooks. About 4 years ago, he wrote a book called The Second Mountain. And in this book, he describes that there are two mountains in all of our lives. The first mountain is the mountain that's all about us. The first mountain is about achievement. It's about climbing that ladder. It's about figuring out how to become successful. The second mountain is about everyone else. It's a mountain we all need to get to. And the sooner we get to that second mountain, the better off we are. The second mountain is where we think less about our achievements and more about lifting those around us and helping others. Now I'm just going to share a couple stories and then just a few pieces of advice, if I might. I grew up in a very small town in the middle of Utah on the same family farm that my great-great-great-grandfather had settled 160 years ago. Our family for generations might be described as the stuck. We don't get out much there, and we love the place that we lived in. Education was not a part of our lives. My dad was able to get an associate's degree, but had to leave college to go run the family farm when his dad developed cancer. But my dad knew that education was important for us, and so he encouraged us to get an education, made sure that we would have the opportunities that he didn't. But I was working during my high school years for my uncle in a construction company. And one day, my uncle asked me to go tear down a barn in our town, an old barn that was falling apart, and the owners needed to tear it down so they could do something else. Now, I had been working on other projects, and I got to go. I had a sledgehammer and a backhoe, and I got to tear down that barn. And it was so much fun, you guys. Just swinging that backhoe, knocking things down, using that sledgehammer to tear that thing apart. It took a couple hours, and the barn was demolished. It was exhilarating. So much fun. Over the years, I've been thinking about that barn. I thought about the people who built that barn decades ago. I thought about how many people it took living in poverty in that small town to build that barn. How long it took them to save the materials and the money to build that barn. How many people, neighbors came together. How long it took them, months, maybe more than a year, to build this structure. And how much fun and easy it was to tear it down. Now, I hope you can see the metaphor in this. Today, in our country, we are living in a time in a country full of arsonists, and there are very few architects. It is so easy to attack and tear down. We're very good at it as Americans. It's harder to build. You see, we get pleasure from tearing down, but happiness, lasting happiness, comes from building, whether we're building structures or building our fellow human beings. The second story I want to share is about my career. I did, as you heard, I had an opportunity. I got offers at big firms in D.C. and other places. We decided to go back to Utah. I clerked for a federal district judge. I went to work for a big law firm. By the way, we had our first 2 children here in Lexington at what was then Stonewall Jackson Hospital. I understand they've changed the name. We had our 2 boys here. We had our third son when we were living near Salt Lake in a suburb, and we were both feeling a little empty. I was making great money. I was on the fast track to becoming a partner. I was reaching all of my goals, and yet we felt a little unfulfilled. You see, I was climbing that first mountain, but the second mountain was always looming. And so my dad called and said, how would you like to come back and help me on the farm and help run the telecommunications company that my great-grandfather had started, and take a huge cut in pay? Come back to a town of 1,200 people. I knew it was terrible for my career. A partner at the firm told me it was the worst mistake I had ever made and that I would regret it. And we did it anyway. So we went back, and some magical things happened. About 6 months in, a friend of mine came and said, we have a vacancy on the city council. And it's not an election, but we've decided we want to appoint you. Now, First Mountain me got a little pride and said, that sounds great. Why do you think I would be a great member of the city council? He said, well, you know, we can't get anybody else to do it. It's your turn. Everybody takes a turn. By the way, my dad was on the city council when I was 8 years old. He said, and second, we have a huge legal problem, and we can't afford an attorney, and we were hoping that if you were on the city council, you could handle this legal problem for us. So I gladly accepted. They paid me $100 a month, and $20,000 worth of free legal advice later, we solved that case. That was the best thing that happened to me. That was my opportunity to give back to the small town that had given me so much. That's when we became, instead of mobile, we became rooted. That's when we started to care more about the people around us, what was happening in our neighborhoods, lifting others and trying to make the world a better place. Now, so something magical happened as well. I know what you're thinking. Well, you're the governor of Utah. And see, that's the piece, that's the magic that happened. Once we realized that, that the world was a better place and we were so much happier by giving to others, these other amazing things started happening in our lives. You see, life is not a zero-sum game, although, sadly, research has shown us that most Americans now see it as a zero-sum game in which if someone else wins, we lose. And if we win, then someone else loses. It's a dog-eat-dog world. We have to win. We don't have to win. Life is not zero-sum. When you lift others, when you give back, when you invest in your community, they will invest in you, and good things will happen in your life on that second mountain. So the last pieces of advice, and then I'll be done. Please serve. Please give back wherever you are. Service is magical. Scientists have found something remarkable over the past decade. They found that service, in fact, most psychiatrists and psychologists now are recommending service before they recommend medication, because service acts like a medication in so many ways to help our own mental health. It even has been found regular services in some instances can lower our blood pressure. It's good for our physical health as well. Again, being rooted is good for our souls and for society. It makes us all so much better. So please serve and give back. The second piece of advice is to spend more time with people who are different than you. This is one of the things I'm most worried about in our country, this deep polarization that we're seeing. As we become lonelier, as Dr. Robert Putnam has talked about in Bowling Alone 20 years ago and since then, we become lonelier as a society. And as we become lonelier without any real friends, we've started finding fake places, new tribes to belong to, on social media and elsewhere. If we don't have any real friends, we can hate the same people together on Facebook or Twitter or X, right? And so we have to stop this. Our society cannot long last with us hating our fellow Americans. Spending time with people who are different than us will make us better. It's hard to hate up close. Those are the only pieces of advice I'm going to give you. Today, my friends, is all about you, and it should be all about you. You have worked so hard for these 3 years. The cool thing about coming back here is I've forgotten all the bad things. I only remember the good things, and you will too. But I sincerely hope that this is the last day that's all about you. You see, as you look behind you, there are all these people in your life that made this possible. You did this, but you did not do it alone. I hope that you will turn around and do the same favor to other people. I do have one more piece of advice. Get married and have kids, okay? I'm just here to tell you, it's awesome. It's so awesome to see this happening. I wasn't here last year. I got asked to come last year, but it was my own son's graduation. It's so cool, you guys. It's worth it, I promise. Happiness versus pleasure, okay? Remember that you will not remember me. You will not remember who gave the commencement address 6 months from now. You'll have no idea who the governor of Utah was or why he was here. But I hope you will remember this day and the people around you. Again, I hope it's the last day that's all about you. Thank you for being the very best this world has to offer. Thank you for being W&L alumni now. We are part of a small but powerful group in this country. And when we give back, that's the key. When we build our communities, that's how you change the world. Get after it. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Governor. I now ask Bianca Volpicelli, President of the third-year class, and Maeve Harris, Vice President of the third-year class, to come to the podium for the presentation of the walking stick.
On behalf of the class of 2024, we would like to present Governor Cox with a walking stick as a token of our appreciation. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor Cox. Thank you, Bianca and Maeve. We'll now bring these exercises to their conclusion by expressing our gratitude to all those who've made it possible. On behalf of the graduates, I'd like to thank the faculty who prepared you to begin your careers. I'd like to thank the alumni whose generosity has enhanced your education. I'd like to thank the university staff whose faithful performance of their duties over the 3 years that you've been here has supported you in so many ways. And finally, I'd like a big round of applause for your family and friends who made it possible for you to be here. In closing, I encourage you, our graduates, to reflect upon what it means to enter the noble profession that is the law. Each of you has the opportunity to do good and important work. Make W&L proud. I know you will. Come back to Lexington often. You will always be warmly welcome here, and we will be eager to hear how your lives and your careers unfold. I wish you the very, very best. I hope all of you will join us for a luncheon on Cannon Green, which has been prepared by our outstanding catering team. This concludes the commencement ceremony. We are adjourned. Great job.